So not sure whether this tenant was handled with any kind of tenant worker information, but if it is not, we'll see after you create the report what kind of process that you need to review to manage trended data. So I said, similar to the matrix, you have trending report actually. So which where you need to take the trended source actually. Or if you wanted to go with advanced, but you wanted to have the trended data, you can look for trended sources. This is going to be a kind of business object you'll use even when you actually create trending report also. So when you go with trending, the same options what you have a matrix will be coming. Okay, grouping, column grouping, row grouping, drill down, and detailed data fields. You'll be getting same what you see in matrix report. Only thing is your source will be different in matrix and trended. In trended, you'll be using only one kind of source, which is trended. In matrix, you can go with any other business object or source in order to get accurate data. Okay. Similarly, now I'm creating advanced with trended worker information. I'll try to know the feature heights, feature terminations for getting in the organization. We'll try to find that information. Feature height in the sense anything feature from today, right? If employee is getting terminated today, is getting current data. But other than today, like tomorrow, day after tomorrow, anything before anything after today, it is a kind of future termination we can consider, right? So we'll try to see how we can get that information. And normally, normal business object worker will not, give you a kind of information of future terminations. You need to actually go with business process transactions in order to know all the future terminations or future any kind of action events that are happening with employee. But your trended data source will be the kind of trended thing, right? Which will be looking for trends happening within Workday. So it will give even future terminations also. But the way that you deal with the report, it can give the future highs, future terminations also. It will give. Since you have selected advanced, you got a chance to actually make your report as a web service. I'm not able to select anything. Okay. So you have taken trended worker information and where you wanted to view the termination termination data. Let's say future termination. Okay, we'll see how to handle this one. As I said, trended worker is a kind of unique business object that holds different data. So when you take worker, it will not look for worker business object. So all the worker information will be coming from trended workers. So you need to know when someone asks you to actually get a trends of terminations, trends of hirings. So when you get such kind of requirements, forget about the format. At least source you need to know, which should be your trended source. Then the format and all, probably you can think which report type will work based on your needs and all. Whether it can be trended workers or advanced, you can actually take that one. Okay. Uh, let's filter the data since we wanted to have future date, future terminations, right? So it should be after today's date, which it should be after today, which are nothing but a kind of terminations. So you can have you'll have two options, when you wanted to filter the data, whether you wanted to have activity or snapshot. Snapshot is nothing but which gives information right from effective date of the termination. Okay, and if you're taking as an activity, which is nothing but will be nothing based on current date. It will look for even beyond that particular date. Okay, so snapshot is something different and activity is something different. When you go with snapshot, which actually looks for complete information of termination, okay, without your current, your past, your future, it will give complete information of snapshot. And activity is nothing but we are now looking for future terminations activity. Okay, so which is nothing but we are looking for certain kind of scenarios to get all the future information. So instead of snapshot actually getting all the information from the snapshot, I wanted to get all information from activity. Okay, that probably you need to let you know when you are creating any kind of trended information. And so termination is something, a kind of transaction in Workday, right? Whenever you perform whenever you terminate an employee or whenever business process called termination triggers in Workday, your termination event executes and employee will get terminated. Similarly, whenever you wanted to hire an employee, hire business process has to execute and then employee will get hired. Similarly, when you wanted to promote an employee from one position to another position, a business process transaction called a job change will be triggering and promotion will happen. So for any kind of transaction that needs to happen in Workday, business process plays an important role in running in the background and making the transaction to get complete. And now since we are talking something about termination, whenever termination has to trigger in Workday, business process called termination has to run in the background. Without that business process running, employee will not get terminated in Workday system. Okay, if a business process running properly and if it got corrupts and stops, running, and in the background, whenever a termination has to happen, and your business process is not supporting to terminate, there will be no terminations happening in the system. So remember that when you're trying to get some information on terminations, it is nothing but you're trying to get all this information from termination business process. Okay. So another way that you can actually filter here is business process type. So what should be your business process here? What should be your business process? Termination should be your business process.
Yeah.
And who will get termination? Who will be getting terminated? Anyone can get terminated, right? Contractor can get terminated. Employee can get terminated. Anyone can get terminated, right? Anyone who will be getting terminated has to undergo through termination business process. But most of the organizations, what they'll do is contractors, they'll be not tracking. Okay, they'll be not tracking. They'll not maintain any kind of standard business process for hiring contractors or for hiring for terminating contractors. They'll just give create a profile and give a start date of that contractor without any kind of normal business process. Because when employees undergoing with getting hired under a specific business process called hiring, all the things has to happen. Benefit elections has to be configured, benefit elections has to be provided, and any kind of bonus amount there, one time bonus has to be given. All these things, employee will be getting, and that's the reason why the higher business process is configured with all these steps, like assigning any kind of one-time bonus if it's eligible, and creating any kind of benefit plan based on the higher date. All these things will be happening through benefit thing, so through business process. But for contractors, all these things will not be applicable, right? So they'll be going outside of that business process and create manually the contractor profile actually. And similarly, when you wanted to get termination information, you need to know it has to be in 99.9 percent cases, you'll be dealing with employee termination only. Okay, because you wanted to actually know the termination information of an employee. But contractor you can get, but in most of the scenarios, most of the customers will not be maintaining any kind of standard business process for contractors. Whenever the wanted to a contractor ends, they'll just expire that the Workday account and make that employee to leave, but they'll not terminate contractors with the business process transaction. So whenever you're dealing with any kind of hiring or termination with standard, so make sure that you are doing for employee only. So we'll take worker type as employee. What should be your worker type? Should be employee, because for contractors will not be looking for any kind of business process transactions and terminations. But in case it's just a kind of observation from my this thing from my experience. But in most of the customers who actually wanted to go with proper format of hiring, be it contractor, be it full-time employee, if they wanted to go with standard business process, that should be okay. Then in that case, you can go with your whenever you're dealing with hiring or terminations, you can include even contractors in your criteria if there is a kind of data that you feel it is there. But if in most of the cases they'll not consider contractor as a kind of whatever features that will be giving for employee will not be considering contractor to avoid those things. So record date is nothing but when termination activity has got recorded. Okay. So we have taken activity of termination, business process type should be a kind of termination, and worker type should be employee, and record date, which is nothing but when termination has got recorded. Okay. That should be not today, but greater than today. When you don't want to go with the standard dates, but all the times report has to dynamically pick after today. So you have delivered fields called today, where you can get from another field of your report filter. That's how your report will be working as needed.
Amit, can we have like record date as a prompt, like where we can give the date?
Yeah, anything you can
Effective.
give.
Yeah.
Anything you can do. So
And I'm asking like, can we do in this report so we can also refresh that?
so there are some kind of default prompts that you will be getting for this one. There are default prompts that is there with the source. You'll be actually getting with this record type. You got record type. So these needs to be actually utilized for prompting your data. Okay, time series date from when to when you want it to have will be specifying. So let's go with sequence start date and end date. And contingent worker type we don't want it to have, so we'll not be looking for contingent. And employee type, since we are already filtering with employee type as Here again, an employee type is different, whether it is a regular or any kind of fixed term, any kind of those kind of employee types you'll be giving. And record type, we have already given activity and worker type. So you'll be worker type also we have given, and active, remove headcount, remove exclude from headcount. Okay, so when you actually check this checkbox, so the name itself is saying like remove exclude from headcount. Okay, if whatever your headcount reports are there, they should not be this checkbox. It's a kind of Boolean value. This actually exclude from the headcount. What you typically have when you're dealing with headcount reports with trended. So this kind of field will allow to actually exclude from that headcount. Okay. So it's a kind of a Boolean value. You need to check whether you want it to actually exclude or include in the headcount reports. Active. This is also a kind of Boolean value. And worker type. So since we already given, I got it. Everything has gone, I believe. Let me see. This should be the report, right? But not sure all the fields will be there or not because we have not saved it, right? Yeah, all the fields has gone. Okay. Nope. Let me quickly add the fields that we wanted to have. Quickly add the fields that we've created. What would be the business process type? Termination should be the business process type, so that your report will not take time and actually looking for all the business process transactions other than termination. So you want this to have a kind of prompt, right? So if you can record date as prompt and coming to the prompts. So the start date and end date, which would be a kind of a default value. Contingent workers, we don't want it to use. So we'll be specifying do not prompt at runtime. And employee type, since we already taken as an employee, will not be, or employee type is a kind of, let's see options what it gives. Intake, full-time or regular kind of thing. And record type, which we already taken as an active. Let's make it as do not prompt. And worker type as employee, which we have taken marked as prompt. And yeah, so we'll be going with start date, end date with employee type as fixed. Since you already given the regular, if you don't want this also to be prompted in the output, you can give this as also do not prompt. And there is one more prompt that we have given from the filter called record date. Okay. Record date, which comes from your report. We'll give last. No default value. You can just keep it as it is so that you can take care when you're running a report. Now, let's see if you're. Okay. Oh, we read it 2 times we had. The field data source filter is required. Okay. Okay. So time series start date. Let's take. I don't know. This is not a live tenant, right? Not sure whether what data that it has, but let's take from 8th to 15th, and record date should be from today and exclude one. Not sure whether data will be there or not. Yeah, something data will not be there because this is not a live tenant, right? So future terminations and all will not be processed. Let me go back. Start date. Yeah. So when we go back, we're getting backdate determinations. But feature also you'll be getting, since this is not a live tenant, right? So where all the feature titled HR transactions are performed, we are getting a blank. But yeah, based on this, you should be able to go back and get accurate data. And also based on the date range that you wanted to have, let's say here I've taken something till today I've taken. Okay. So till today, with the snapshot date, there was an activity and record date of termination. It has got me 2 terminated records. Okay. So which you can actually take it as a kind of trended information between the date range of terminated employees. Similarly, you can play around with any of the information with tender. Okay, if you wanted to know any kind of change business process transactions happened, let's say promotion or job change, anything that you wanted to know. Only thing is that you need to do is in the filter, I've given business process type as terminations. So just remove the termination and it will look for all the business process transactions in Workday. Not only termination, but when you remove that filter, it will look for only, when you remove that filter, it will look for all the transactions. But when you actually filter with termination, it will only look for terminated one. Okay. Understood the trended one? It's simple, but the only thing is you need to know how trended works versus standard, data. That's the only thing that you need to know. Other than that, as how you actually deal with worker-related sources and objects, you'll be managing the same way with your filters of, trended workers. Anything unclear? Anything that you wanted to check or clarify here? And it would be, since it is not a regular worker, right? Probably you'd be having some kind of questions. Managing trended. If there is anything unclear, you can check.
I would like to do this by myself, and if I can, I'll ask questions in the next round.
Yeah. So
because when I'll do it, I'll understand what I didn't understand as well.
Yeah. One more thing, that I wanted to show with when you're managing trended information. Okay. I think I didn't proxy as logon, right? That's the reason why I'm not getting few options. Let me proxy as a logon and show some of the options that you can handle during trended reporting. We see here, maintain trended workers and maintain trended workers organization is there, right? Whenever you're actually creating the first trended report, when there is no kind of trended data that sits in your tenant, and this is the activity that you need to perform. Refresh your maintain trended worker source, so that if there is any kind of updated workers that has to come into trended worker source, when you refresh, you'll be getting all the updated information. Okay, so when your report is not pulling any data, when you manage any kind of trended reporting related stuff, So just come to maintain trended workers task, and here just click on refresh. It will refresh the data and will actually pull all the records you'll be getting. So far we have trended records processed around this is the head count that we have so far till date. But yeah, if there is anything that you wanted to include a few more employees that has to be a part of trended, who might have got hired, who might have got terminated, who might have got any kind of transactions happening in Workday, you can just refresh this one and it will execute and refresh your source to get the data. So maintain trended workers, just keep in your mind, which actually behind the screens, it runs and groups all the trended workers into one source. So which you'll be actually managing trended things. Okay, so there's one thing you need to remember while working with trended reports. Okay. And the one that we have created, right, advanced report is a straightforward one. We just took very basic fields and try to, see if we can get future terminations, which we are not, because since, this is not a live tenant, you'll obviously see no one making such kind of transactions. But we were able to go back and find previous terminations in our report that should actually give some kind of examples. But yeah, so you can actually manage with any kind of same report what I've created. Just change the business process type from termination to change job, from the termination to hire. Okay, so that you'll be getting that relevant data when you run a report. Just try with that option. And also we have taken advanced report, and there's a reason why we were getting all the things in a tabular format. But in case if you wanted to have a kind of trended information to be populated in a graphical format, then you need to choose your report type as trended instead of advanced, so that you will be getting option to actually choose the chart in a way that you wanted to populate the data and get it.